I honestly don't have a great explanation for what it is that we saw on Monday Night Football from the Cleveland Browns. Like, I really don't have a great explanation for that. Like, I remember before this game happened, I said, hey, look, like, this game is a game that on paper looks like it makes sense for the Cleveland Browns. The Steelers can't stop the run. The Browns can run the ball well. They've been running the ball well in recent weeks. And that's pretty much all they should do, right? Baker should throw the ball 20 times. They should run the ball like 40 times between all their running backs. And then, when we look at the other things defensively, those things held up. But offensively, the game plan was real simple, or at least it should have been real, or from the outside looking in, if you look at Pittsburgh, what they don't do well, if it felt like it should have been simple. And what I saw on Monday Night Football was just hard to explain, honestly. Like, this is one of those games that it's unfortunate it happens at the end of the year, because this is going to lead to a lot of weird conspiracy theories for the rest of the offseason, right? Because this doesn't make sense, that the Browns would go out there with the game plan to throw the ball 40 times, even though they were never – I think they got down big late once they gave up that touchdown at the end of the last drive. But the game was within 2 scores, so there was no reason to abandon the run game. The run game was averaging 6 yards per carry, and the passing game was averaging a yard per attempt. It just felt something feels off about this entire game, and there's something that I think is coming to head. See, I was preparing myself this week or next week, whenever it felt appropriate, to make a video saying, hey, I think Baker's going to be a transition quarterback into the next guy. I don't know how true that is going to be anymore. And that's not the statement on Baker Mayfield, the player, that some are going to take it as. It's more or less the statement on the relationship between him and Kevin Stefanski. I think that thing's falling apart. I think from the outside looking in, and again, I could be completely wrong on this. I'm willing to admit that I'm looking at this with a lot less information than what might be necessary. But it just doesn't look like a relationship that is working out right now, that both sides want to be a part of anymore. You got Baker talking about, leaving James Hudson on an island. You got Baker calling out his coach, basically pondering if he's even going to play next week for his own health and safety. Just feels weird, and it does feel weird that they didn't do more to protect Baker in this game, even though I just don't know why he dropped back 40 times to throw the ball. There was a real blueprint to win this game that I think almost everybody who follows football at almost any level was aware of. And the blueprint to win this game never involved Baker Mayfield throwing this ball more than 40 times. There are teams in games like Baltimore, right, where it's he might have to throw the ball a lot to win that game because their weakness is in the secondary. That just wasn't the case with Pittsburgh, and it didn't make any sense, right? It's not like they weren't having success on the ground. They were. They just did not use it. And then, there's this weird thing with Nick Chubb. They're saying Nick Chubb had a rib injury, but they still ran him. And, it's like if they were tanking, they wouldn't have put the starters out there, right? They would have put Keenum out there and just let whatever rides. So they weren't tanking, in my opinion. I don't think that's the explanation for it. I think that's an explanation a lot of people are going to go with because it's a convenient one and it's an easy one. But when you look at that game and you look at who played, you got Miles out there with a hamstring injury. You have all these dudes out there that are playing through stuff. This isn't a team that wasn't trying to win. It was a team that went about trying to win in one of the most head-scratching ways that I'd seen. And this, to me, from the outside looking in with very little information, smells like an internal conflict. This absolutely does. And again, this goes back to my original point about why I don't think, while I'm starting to think that this whole situation with Baker Mayfield and Kevin Stefanski and the Browns offense isn't going to last that long, because it's not just that Kevin Stefanski seems to have some kind of an issue with Baker, or Baker has an issue with Kevin Stefanski, vice versa. It seems to me, when you look at the body language of the offense, when you look at how players are reacting to, some of the miscues of Baker Mayfield, I just don't think this offense, the players on this offense, at least in the wide receiving room and the tight end room and in the running back room, believe in Baker Mayfield anymore. And once that's gone, the time's ticking, right? Like, yeah, you could draft somebody this year and have Baker be the guy who holds it down for a year while that guy comes in. But if the offense doesn't believe in him, if the team doesn't believe in him, and if the coaching staff is starting to be indifferent about him, then that's not going to lead to a situation where a guy you draft in the first round is going to have a whole year to sit back and learn, right? If you draft Malik Wills in the first round or something like that, that dude's going to have to play because, one, if Baker plays anything like he has this year, he's going to get benched next year. And two, it's going to be hard to justify that to a locker room that seems to be tired of Baker Mayfield at this point, quite honestly. Like, it seems to be like the whole situation with Baker, with Kevin, has run its course with some players and with some of the coaching staff. And I don't know what you do with that, right? I'm somebody who, at the beginning of the season, was hoping this whole Baker Mayfield thing would work out, that he would get an extension, he would be the franchise quarterback. That thing has regressed into him just maybe he's a transition guy for the next couple of years. But the relationship doesn't seem like it's at a place where, it to me, it seems like Baker Mayfield is very much looking forward to getting his walking papers, getting healthy off that labrum, and getting a new start somewhere else. And it looks like Kevin Stefanski is looking forward to that too. Like, the way they called this game just doesn't make very much sense. I mean, it got called out by multiple ways. I don't know if Kevin purposely put his quarterback out there to look bad on national TV. And quite honestly, I don't think that Kevin had to, right? Like, you don't have to go out of your way to make Baker Mayfield look bad in 2021. You don't have to construct a game plan to make Baker Mayfield look bad this year, because he's been bad all year, right? Like, it was just something that's going to bubble up to the surface. The man threw 4 interceptions the week prior. And then, I know he didn't throw 4 interceptions. He only threw 2 interceptions this week, but I honestly felt like he had a better game when he threw 4. And that speaks to how badly he's played all year. And, people are going to talk about the labrum and make comments about why that's the reason he's not playing well. And I just can't really buy it, man, at this point. Like, I'm just going to be honest with y'all. I can't buy the ideal that Baker Mayfield went from somebody who was playing at a fringe top 10 level last year to a bottom 30 quarterback because of a labrum injury. Like, I have seen other quarterbacks have labrum injuries. Yes, they make you a worse version of yourself, but you're still who you are, right, as a quarterback. And the truth about it is, a quarterback in the NFL or a player in the NFL, you have to have a plan B. If you're going to be injured and you're going to be out there, hey, what can I do? What parts of my game? Can I be more cerebral? Can I take more of what the defense is going to give me? Can I attack there? Can I rely less on my physical gifts and rely more on my mental gifts? Baker Mayfield, he's failed that test, right? Like, he lost some of his physical gifts. You can argue he's not going to be as accurate, but he found a way to compensate. In the NFL, look, if you're hurt, you got to find a way to compensate, especially at the quarterback position. We cannot have a quarterback on this team where the floor is this low. And this is why I think maybe next week's game, I really wouldn't be surprised that that's Baker's last game in a Cleveland Browns uniform. And I'm not somebody who thought that would be close to happening remotely coming into this year, but it seems like the direction things are heading, because I just don't see the way things seem to be going, the way people just don't seem to be happy with the situation in the team. It just doesn't make a lot of sense that he's going to be back as the starter without serious competition or without them moving on from him. And, again, that seems like a reset. Here's what I'll say. Here's what I'll say. I know a lot of this video is going to be negative because I had to focus on the Baker Mayfield, Kevin Stefanski aspect of it. I think the defense played well and everything else up until the point where it became obvious the offense is no longer going to help you, and I think the defense has reached this point with the offense, right? I think they have lost their patience. I mean, how could you not? If you're the defense, you have played lights out for like 5 weeks in a row and have nothing to show for it because of the offense's failures. Honestly, there are like 5 games this year where you probably would have won if you had a better performance from the offense. So I can see where the defense is just tired of everything going on with the offense. The defense has gotten their stuff together. The offense is a mess right now. It seems like it's almost dysfunctional. And I just don't see how you bring back Baker under these circumstances. But when it comes to this team overall, that's the picture right now, right? The micro of it, right? The small aspects, the week by week aspects, it's pretty ugly. In the macro of the situation, I think we can relax a little bit. We're not in as bad as the situation as we think we are in. And this is purely because, one, I think Andrew Berry has proven this year to be a pretty good talent evaluator, right? When you look at his first round pick, Greg Newsome, that's a hit. JLK, that's a hit. Some people are going to focus on Demetric Felton not getting a lot out of that, but he's a 5th-round pick, right? If you get a little bit out of him, that's still more, right? Sometimes those guys don't even make the roster. So when you look at his picks, I mean, I know some people are down on Jedrick Wills. I think Jedrick Wills has been fine. He's made his mistakes. He's a young tackle. But remember, he's in his first 2 years, and tackles really don't hit their peak until year 3. Well, not peak, but hit their, NFL level until year 3, and he's been injured all year. So I'm going to give him grace on that one. And I think Jedrick, when he has been healthy, has been pretty good for this team. So, I think Andrew Berry, Grant Delpit, also somebody who's been playing very well, is proven to be a good draft pick too. But I think Andrew Berry has proven that, hey, you give him a 1st-round pick wherever in this draft, he's going to find a good player. If you tell me that Andrew Berry is going to be finding a new quarterback for this team, I have some confidence in that. I think organizationally, I think Kevin Stefanski, look, I know people are going to be down on Kevin. This is a weird game. I can't explain the play calling in this one. I'm going to just give this and chalk this up to a bad second year for Kevin Stefanski, right? I think he had a bad second year after a pretty good first one. And I have more faith in him, becoming but getting back on track next year than I do in some other players at this point because, I liked what I saw out of Kevin at certain times, and I think that what he does is tried and true. I think sometimes the execution has really let him down this year. But I think organizational-wise, you have a good enough foundation to where I don't think you're going to be getting set back too far when it comes to how this team's going to be playing next year or what they're going to look like next year. I think you still have a lot of talent. I'll see what they do at the quarterback position. But this was a weird one, man. This is one of those ones where it's hard to explain exactly why and what went down. There's going to be a ton of explanations. I think there's going to be some wacky ones that are going to come with this. But we'll see what they do in the offseason. I think that's going to speak volumes. What happens this offseason is going to speak volumes. Who they choose to replace this offseason is going to speak volumes. If they go after quarterbacks in the offseason, that's going to speak volumes on what this team is trying to do or what they feel like went wrong. I think a lot of people know where they're going to point their fingers at for this year, but I'm interested to see where Andrew Berry and company feel like the fingers should be pointed at this year. But that's really my reaction to this game. Let me know your thoughts down in the comment section below. But again, guys, thank you for watching. Have a great day. Have a good night.